Hi, Grandma here, and we're reading The Iron King by Lloyd Alexander. We're going to begin today with Chapter 16, Elephant Hunters. Just a little review. In the previous chapter, they did rescue little Akka, the monkey that Hashkat had been looking for. But when they rescued him, they awakened an elephant, and the elephant pulled up its stakes and rampaged through Nahusha's retinue, his followers, their campsite, and eventually the elephant found where Tamar and their group is, and that's kind of where we left off. Tamar twisted back and forth, struggling to get free of the trunk coiled around him. Miri started forward. Adikavi stepped ahead of her, arms outstretched. Seeing what she took to be a new attacker, the elephant flung Tamar to the ground and, bellowing, swung her head toward the Sutta, that's Adikavi, and made ready to charge. Before she could launch herself against him, Adikavi strode deliberately to the distraught animal. Tamar shouted a warning. Paying no heed, the Sutta laid his hands on the creature's trunk, all the while murmuring sounds that Tamar could not understand. The elephant reared up on her massive legs. Tamar ran to pick up his blade. Stay away, the Sutta called over his shoulder. Don't come near her. Drop the sword. The tone of command in Adikavi's voice made Tamar still alarmed. Do instantly as the Sutta ordered. The elephant hesitated, as if uncertain whether or not to resume her charge. Adikavi fixed his eyes on her and seemed to hold her with his gaze. The big animal drew back, panting and snuffling. As Tamar watched in astonishment, she gradually sank to her hindquarters. Adikavi continued his murmuring. At last the elephant lowered her head. The Sutta nodded and turned away. She's terrified, Adikavi said. Let her rest. She's more afraid of us than we of her. I'm sure she is, Mary said, going to the elephant's side and gently stroking her trunk. Poor thing, we didn't mean to harm you. The elephant heaved a sigh and fanned herself with her ears. I'm sorry, she said. Whatever came over me, forgive me. It's never happened before. You can speak? Tamar stared at her. Not usually, said the elephant. Never, in fact, since I've been in captivity. If Nahusha knew I could talk, who knows what others he would make me do? He won't do anything to you now, Mary said. Oh, I hope not, the elephant snuffled. My name is Arvati, she added. Nahusha brought me with him so I could show off the tricks I've learned. We're not fond of Nahusha, Mary said. I hope you trampled him a little before you ran off. Oh, no, I'd never do anything like that, Arvati replied. I've been well trained. As for running off, I don't know what possessed me. I suppose I lost my head for a moment. It just seemed to happen. I didn't mean to. Arvati's whole bulk shuddered. They'll punish me, of course, once they get me back. Get you back, Mary exclaimed. How? You're a grown elephant. You're more than a match for them. You've made a good start. Keep going. Find your herd. Oh, if only I could, Arvati sighed. This forest has been my ancestors' home since the Golden Age. Naturally, I inherited their power to speak, if I chose to. I've always dreamed of being with my herd again, she went on. But it's too late. I don't know how to make my way in the wilds anymore. I'm sure to be recaptured. Yes, if you sit and wait, Tamar said. Do as Mary tells you. No, said Arvati. Now I've calmed down and can think more clearly. I'll go back on my own. That way they'll see I'm simply confused. and they won't punish me too badly." "Don't count on it," said Mary. "You're better off in the forest. Here's your chance to be free of them." "You don't understand. I'm afraid to do anything else. Nahusha's hunters captured me when I was a calf. I had a gentle nature, so instead of training me to be a war elephant, they taught me to do tricks. I'm used to that now." "You see what they've done?" Mary said to Tamar. "She's been so beaten and cowed, she hardly knows anything else." "Nahusha won't get his hands on her again," Tamar said. "We can't leave her. We'll keep her with us until she can look after herself. But Nahusha won't let her get away that easily. My guess is he's already sent his people to track her down." "Then," said Mary, "we can't stand around waiting for them." "Yeah, that's just what we're going to do," Tamar said. "We have to deal with them. If we don't, they'll stay on her trail, which means they'll be on our trail as well." "Right," said Hashkat, judging Arvati safe enough to approach. "She'll leave a path even a blind man could follow." "Take her deeper into the forest," Tamar told Mary. "I'll wait behind with Hashkat. We'll take the hunters by surprise, and that's the end of them." "Oh, the warrior's way again?" Mary said. "It's the only way I know, but yes, I should have listened to you before. I'd be glad to listen to you now if you have a better plan." "Let me suggest that you settle the matter," put in Adhikavi. "I, for one, would relish it. It's the sort of thing that suits me more than bloodshed." "Nor am I eager for bloodshed," Tamar said after the Sutta explained his scheme. "But can you make the trackers believe you?" Adhikavi chuckled. "Don't forget I'm a royal crier. If I can make a dim-witted lummox think himself a wise and noble king, I don't see any difficulty." Following the Sutta's instructions, they tethered the horses out of sight and led Arvati into the screen of underbrush a little way down the forest track. In a small clearing, they set about their own preparations while Adhikavi turned back and stayed within eyeshot of them, hunkered down on the ground. From his perch in the fork of a tree, Tamar watched uneasily as the hunting party made its way through the bushes. The elephant master himself carrying a long pole with a sharp iron point and hook at the end, 3 of his fellows bearing coils of rope, a pack horse laden with a net, shackles, and chains. At sight of them, Adhikavi leaped up and ran toward the elephant master, wringing his hands and begging for help. "Be off with you," the elephant master roughly pushed Adhikavi aside. "We've no help to give you, scruffy lout. This is serious work at hand. Our king's elephant ran away. She's not long gone. Her tracks are fresh." That moment, at a signal from Tamar, Arvati trumpeted loud enough to rattle the leaves. "Out of my way," ordered the elephant master. "She's here under our noses." Wait, said Adhikavi. "Stay back. It's worth your life. She's dangerous." "Oh, she won't be when she has a look at this," the elephant master grinned and held up the pole. "She knows what it means. A little taste of the hook and she'll be gentle as a lamb." With Adhikavi tugging at their garments and stammering out warnings, the hunters pressed on to the clearing. The elephant masters stopped short. "What the devil is this?" At the farther end of the clearing, one end of the rope tied to the wooden stake in the ground, the other knotted around his ankle, stood Hashkat. Chapter 17, the Rakshasa. Hashkat's face and body were striped with yellow clay. His hair brushed out to make him look nearly twice his size. Leaves and vines twined around his head and waist. He slapped his chest, shrieked, hooted, and flung himself about at the end of the rope. "Devil indeed," wailed Adhikavi. "A Rakshasa! A demon! Keep away! That fiend can tear you apart," he warned, as Hashkat dropped to all fours, gnashing his teeth while he bounced up and down, sticking out his tongue, wagging it horribly. "I confess," blurted Adhikavi as the elephant masters gaped, "I found your elephant wandering in the forest. I meant to steal her. I knew she'd be worth a fortune. No sooner do I tie her down than she turns into a Rakshasa. I was lucky to get away with my life." "You are out of your wits," the elephant master nevertheless drew back uneasily. "Arvati changed into a demon? What lunacy are you telling me?" "Oh, I've heard tales like that." One of the trackers exchanged frightened glances with his fellows. "No question, it happens." "It's the forest," Adhikavi whispered fearfully. "It's always full of demons. One of them pounced out and took possession of her. Well, you deal with her. I'm not risking life and limb. I won't even ask a reward for finding her." "Best do your work quickly," he urged. "The longer that demon stays there, the bigger it'll grow. Then you'll have no chance at all." "Well, you seem to know a lot about demons," the elephant master began. "More than I like. I've seen a few in my day and lived to regret it. At least I lived, which is better than some can say." "What do you think?" the elephant master said with mounting discomfort. "Will she ever change back again?" "Oh, yes. Once you've got that demon tied hand and foot, if it sees it can't move, it'll be gone in a flash. Poof! And there's your elephant again." "Here's your dear little Arvati," Hashkat called out in a hoarse growl. He rolled his eyes and snapped his teeth. "Come closer. I missed breakfast. I've been hungry all morning." He beckoned to the elephant master. "You first, Sala." "She speaks?" gaped the elephant master before she never said a word. "She wasn't a Rakshasa then." Adhikavi turned to leave. "Well, goodbye all. I wish you the best of luck. By that I mean, I hope you won't be too badly chewed up." "Hold on." Sala seized Adhikavi by the tail of his vest. "You're not going anywhere. You know the way of these demons. You give us a hand." "Oh, no. I'm too fond of being alive," Adhikavi protested. If you insist," he added as the elephant master shook the goad at him. "All right, unload the pack horse. Get those shackles ready. Is that a net I see? Excellent. We'll use it for a start." The trackers by this time were trembling so violently they could hardly follow the Suta's directions. When at last they unrolled the net, Adhikavi nodded approval. "Stay close together, shoulder to shoulder," he ordered. "Hold up that net as high as you can. Wait, I'll take one end. Easy now. No sudden moves. Walk toward her. Get ready to throw it." As the trackers approached, Hashkat strained menacingly at his tether. They shrank back. But Adhikavi urged them on. "Never fear. You'll soon have your elephant again. Oh, one thing I forgot to admit. Don't look. Turn your heads away. Keep watching, and that demon could change you all into Rakshasas. Better yet, close your eyes. I'll tell you the moment to open them." The trackers, ever more frightened, squeezed their eyes shut. Adhikavi guided them toward Hashkat, but as they stumbled closer, the Suta led them past him to the edge of the clearing. Hashkat at the same time untied himself, pulled up the stake, and sprang silently behind them, taking hold of one end of the net. Glancing at him, Adhikavi nodded and suddenly shouted, "Help! Help! The Rakshas's loose!" Tamar and Mary, meanwhile, sped to help Adhikavi and Hashkat. By the time the trackers realized they were being set upon not by demons, but by human beings and an oversized monkey, it was too late. The net was wrapped around them. Tamar ran to fetch the chains and bound Arvati's pursuers all the more securely. The pack horse had already bolted in alarm. Rajaswami trotted from his hiding place to lend a hand, hauling Sala and his fellows into the brush. Certain that Arvati's would-be captors were well tangled in their own chains and net, Tamar signaled Miri and the others to retrieve the horses. Arvati, with Akka crouched on her head and Garuda on her haunches, plunged through the forest. The tracker's cry of rage had long since faded in the distance when Arvati's rescuers halted. Tears of joy rolled from the elephant's eyes. "Am I really free? No more hooks and goads. It feels so strange. I don't quite know what to do." "Well, you'll stay with us as long as you want," Tamar said. "Hashkat, you made a fine demon. You almost frightened me. And you, Suta, I am ready to believe you can convince anybody of anything." "I'm the one who scared the wits out of them," crowed Hashkat. "They won't come after us now if they get loose. What will they do? Slink back to Nahusha? They lost his elephant. Ha 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 ha. He'll have their heads for it. If they're wise, they'll quietly make themselves scarce." "No bloodshed in any case," Tamar said to Miri as Hashkat went to scrub off the streaks of clay. "I found it entirely satisfactory," said Rajaswami. "Indeed, rather stimulating. Goodness me, I was tempted to give those ruffians a good whack with my umbrella." "Is that my old Acharya speaking?" Tamar grinned at him. "Talking about whacking people?" "An impulse is one thing, doing is something else," Rajaswami said. "Fortunately, I resisted." "Sooner or later, someone's bound to find them," he assured Tamar. "They may be uncomfortable for a time, but looking at the bright side, it will be beneficial and instructive for them to reflect while they're waiting. Let patience ever be your goal. It helps to fortify the soul." So as to stay well ahead from Nahusha and his warriors, Tamar had chosen to avoid the river road and keep to the forest in spite of the heavy undergrowth and dense woodlands. He could not have asked for better help from Arvati. Lumbering ahead, the elephant was able to clear a good path, trampling down thick brush, flinging aside dead branches. For all her bulk and strength, she was a gentle, sweet-natured creature. She willingly let Akka perch on her brow, where he chattered with delight at this new means of transportation. When Rajaswami grew saddle-weary, he ventured to ride on her back, holding his umbrella over his head and beaming happily. Arvati's kindly disposition even had a calming effect on Garuda, who moaned and wailed somewhat less than usual. "I never reckoned on an elephant for a traveling companion," Tamar said with a bemused laugh when they halted at nightfall. "Even so, I'm glad we have one." Miri had come to sit close beside him while Hashkat and Akka curled by the small fire, and Rajaswami nodded drowsily. The big Suda stretched out his legs, clasped his hands behind his head. "A good deed, King of Sundari, which gains merit for all of you." "Merit gained by accident?" Tamar said. "We hadn't planned on rescuing an elephant." "Does it matter?" Adhikavi shrugged his burly shoulders. "Merit is merit, however it's gained. Intention? That's one thing. What you end up doing, that's another. As happened with the thief and the spider, let me tell you. Late one night, a thief crept into a wealthy merchant's house. Oh, first, you should know he was a young thief without experience. He had fallen on lean times and decided that burglary was a more straightforward career than law or politics, and an occupation immediately at hand. In fact, he was his first professional appearance. And so he planned everything carefully. He closely observed the merchant's house and the merchant's habits. What time he went to bed, which doors or windows would be most easily opened. Once inside the house, once the merchant was safely snoring away, the thief calculated he could search the place at his leisure and find where the valuables were hidden. All went marvelously well at first. He found, as he expected, an unlatched window and wriggled easily and silently through it into the merchant's storeroom. From the bedchamber, he could hear the merchant snoring and snuffling happily in dreamland, but groping his way through the dark, he stubbed his toe against a table leg. Choking back a yelp of pain, terrified of waking the merchant, he smacked himself on the forehead and cursed himself for a fool. He was, as I told you, a mere beginner, and for all his planning, he had neglected to bring a light. In the dimness, however, he was able to make out an oil lamp on the table. He fumbled in his garments, pulled out flint and steel, and struck a spark. The wick flared brightly. He gave a sigh of relief as he picked up the lamp. A small spider scurried out from under its base. "Thank you for saving my life," said the spider. "Before he went to bed, the merchant set his lamp down on top of me so I couldn't escape. If you hadn't come along, I wouldn't have lasted the night indeed. I'd have perished miserably, far from my web and my brood of little ones." "You have saved a life and shown compassion," the spider went on. Although the impatient thief protested he had no such intention, better yet to have done so without the least thought or hope of reward. "You have gained more merit than you could possibly imagine." "But you're only a spider," said the thief. "And you're only a man," said the spider. "My dear thief, when you understand that life is life, whether on 8 legs or 2, you will have understood much. Your deed in any case has cleansed all evil from your heart. Go from here with a fresh spirit, and good luck to you." The thief did so, Adhikavi concluded, and never thought to steal again. "There, King of Sundari, you have a case of doing good accidentally, even though the intention was evil to begin with. In short, you never know how things may turn out." The tale is true, by the way, the Sutta added. "You see, I was that thief." "Well, you clearly mended your ways, which is most commendable and meritorious," said Rajaswami. "Nevertheless, let me remind you, wrong is wrong, right is right, clear as the difference between day and night." "Between day and night, yes, clear enough," put in Mary, "but oh, wise Brahmin, what if it's twilight?" Adhikavi's tale and Mary's comment lingered in Tamar's mind and niggled at him for the next several days, until finally, while the others pressed on, Tamar hung back a little and beckoned for Mary to stay with him. "Something troubles me," he began as they dismounted and walked their horses. "If an evil intention can turn to good, can a good intention turn to evil?" "It sure happens all the time," said Mary. "And can doing right lead to something wrong?" Tamar went on. "I did right leaving Sundari. I had given my word." "Or so you imagined," Mary said. "You still don't know for sure if it was only a dream." Tamar nodded. "That makes it all the worse. If it was only a dream, I've done a terrible wrong in following it. Darshan warned me of that, but I paid no mind. I've abandoned my people for the sake of it. Who knows what that may lead to? I put Rajaswami's life in danger more than he ever bargained for. And I even tried to send you away." "You didn't succeed," said Mary with a loving smile. "Of course, I had something to say about that." "But suppose the dream was real?" Tamar turned his gaze to the iron ring on his finger. "It's not clear to me anymore. The twilight, you said. In between right and wrong, is everything twilight? What if Jaya cheated when he played at dice? Does my word still bind me? And Jaya himself, Garuda loves him. He'd have given his life for him. That's not the same king of Mahapura that came to see me. He was brutal and heartless. Could he have tricked me with some kind of illusion? Or is everything illusion? I'm not, as you'll find out, Mary broke off as Adhikavi cantered up. We're moving well ahead, the Sutta called out. Our bodies cleared a new path. We can cover a good bit of ground before sunset. Yes, of course, Tamar said absently, remounting Gayatri. Even so, no need to hurry. Our Vadi indeed had trampled a good path. Nearly half the day still lay ahead. Tamar nevertheless ordered a halt for the night. Hashkat gave a curious glance, but did not question him. Tamar stayed apart for the rest of the afternoon. Next day, Rajaswami vanished. And that's the end of the chapter, which you probably would have guessed because it left you with a big question mark and a cliffhanger. Okay, the next chapter is going to be chapter 18, and it's called Samanande, but I don't know what that means. Maybe if I look it up. If I look it up in the back, it's not in the back. If I look it up in the front of the characters and places, I found it. Samanande, tiger trapped while seeking her lost mate. So in chapter 18, we're going to find out about a tiger. This is just getting curiouser and curiouser, as Alice in Wonderland once said. Bye-bye.